This is the office of the General Employees Union, next to the Town Hall on Ross Road. At one point, almost the entire workforce was a member of the General Employees Union, and it was the largest union in the islands, encompassing all trades. But today, the headquarters is empty of members, instead occupied by other companies in the Falklands, and rented out by the Penguin News. The union was first set up in 1943 as the Falklands Labour Federation, with entrepreneur and politician Jack Barnes being one of the first members and a driving force behind its establishment. Times were hard, social inequality was widespread, and employees in both Stanley and Camp were looking for better pay and better conditions.
If the boss didn't like you off down the road you went, and I'm told, especially in the camp, a letter would be sent around the farms not to employ Mr. Short because he had sort of thing questioned my authority. So it was all these things I think came together, and a group of people very, very bravely, in my opinion, decided to form what is now known as the General Employees Union. I say bravely because if it had backfired and hadn't been supported by the working population, they would have found themselves never working in the Falklands again, I suspect.
I was a union convener. I'm proud to have been a member of the union. As if you had an issue with your employer, the union could become involved. If it came to some sort of legal action, the union would be able to assist in legal expenses. That would be a really good example of why it's worthwhile being a member of the union.
When you get a collective, you can then start negotiating your wages, your terms, your conditions. And of course, with the ultimate sanction being the withdrawal of labour if things really get that silly. But certainly, from my experience of negotiations, there used to be two negotiations, one here in Stanley and one with the Sheep Owners Association as they were covering the camp.
The Sheep Owners Association, which I don't think exists anymore, would annually meet with the union to negotiate rates for everything from peat cutting all the way through to shearing and other kind of overtime rates, all sorts of things like that.
As a fairly moderate union, the only time it got close to strike action in MLA Short's time was negotiating benefits not for its own members, but for St Helenian workers brought into the Falklands after 1982.
The government actually had them on slightly different conditions to us, but also living in old porter cabins in a warehouse on Firepass, and we made quite a fuss over that, and I came probably very, very close to recommending to our membership that we down tools over that, because we could see the injustice of what was being done to these people, and luckily, happily, we come to an agreement with the government, and the St Helenian workers were treated just like us and put in proper living conditions.
In Britain, unionism had its heyday in the 1960s and 70s, before deindustrialisation and anti-trade union legislation limited union powers. As the Falklands saw many changes after '82, unionism also lost its prominence. The Hay Management Review of 1996 asked government workers to disregard the union in favour of better pensions and benefits. In Camp, farming practices changed drastically as farms were divided up.
With the subdivision came the death of unionism in Camp, and I would almost say, and rightly so, because people then were owning their own patch of ground, and that is what it's all about, is the worker transitioning into, well, he's still the worker, but he's also the manager as well, and he makes himself work twice as hard, but he's got his own patch of ground.
But there is hope that unionism might once again be revived, and belief that the rights of workers still need to be protected.
It saddens me that the General Employees Union does not have the membership that it used to have. It would have been a very useful tool for working people in the islands to be part of a union. It has a role, but union's only as strong as its membership. And anybody thinking about joining, I would suggest that they do. It's there.